Franklin D. Roosevelt by Kylie Mitsuyasu. Born in 1882 at Hyde Park in New York, FDR was an only child of James Roosevelt and Sarah Delano. Growing up, he had a private tutor up until the age of 14 when he attended Groton Preparatory School in Massachusetts. He then went on to Harvard, where he met Eleanor. They married in 1905, and he was governor of New York. In 1921, he got polio, which is a viral disease that can cause damage to central nervous systems, resulting in paralysis. He lost use of both his legs. Roosevelt was inaugurated into presidency on March 4, 1933. He entered presidency during the worst time in the Great Depression, where nearly 13 million people were employed and almost every bank was closed. During his campaigning, he mentioned how he planned on having a New Deal program, which will turn out to be one of the main reasons why Americans were able to get out of the Great Depression. FDR is known to be one of the most liked/loved political leaders. He was able to soothe anxious nerves while keeping the public at bay. He was an inspiring leader to some, and he was also beloved, seeing as he served the most terms a president has ever served in our history, which is 4. What people didn't know is that he angered almost as many people as he pleased. There were equal dislikes as there were likes. People thought that he was vague about specifics and he was quote-unquote an arrogant authoritarian who abuses his power. FDR served 4 terms of presidency. His first term of presidency was during the Great Depression when it was at its highest. He also introduced the New Deal program. During his second term of presidency, he also won by a landslide again. He also grew in anti-Roosevelt believers, seeing as he started to anger more of the public. His third and fourth term of presidency led to the ratification of the 22nd Amendment, which states that all presidents have a maximum of 2 terms they were allowed to serve, and he was also there during World War II and the bombing of Pearl Harbor. Like stated before, he was elected for 4 times as presidency and was there during the bombing of Pearl Harbor. He also pledged the United States to the Good Neighbor policy, which stated that the Americans would keep out of war in Europe. Roosevelt died on April 12, 1945, due to bleeding in the brain, also known as hemorrhaging in the brain. How involved was Roosevelt with the creation of the New Deal programs? He was very involved in the program, seeing as he was the one who created the idea of the New Deal programs. He wanted to ensure that all groups, organizations were met to his standards and what he thought would make up of the New Deal. Was FDR considered arrogant as a person or arrogant as a leader? Not many people knew him as a person. Most of him knew he was famous for being the president, therefore he was arrogant as a leader in most people's eyes. How did Roosevelt hide his polio? Roosevelt had to keep his polio away from all public eyes, seeing as it could ruin his political stance. He always had a cane in one hand and a person's shoulder on the other hand while he was walking in front of other people. How much did Roosevelt advertise the Great Depression? The main goal during Roosevelt's first term of presidency and most of his second term of presidency was to help with the Great Depression. He did things like fireside chats, which talked to the people of the nation, and he also did the New Deal programs to help the Great Depression move past. How much did Roosevelt win by? Roosevelt got 57% of the population's vote compared to Hoover's 39%. But he got 472 electoral votes compared to Hoover's 59 votes.
Who did most of his policies cater to? Most of his policies catered to the younger people who are more easily put to work, but there were also the acts like the Social Security Act that helped the elderlies. Why did he limit the number of terms for the president after he finished his fourth term? Actually, he didn't limit his term because he actually died during the middle of his fourth term. After that, it was a congressional decision to ratify the 22nd Amendment. Did the public know that he had polio? The public was aware that he had polio, though he did try his best to hide his polio. What made FDR such a good president? Like I said before, he was a good president because of many things. Maybe it was the way that he was able to settle anxious nerves, or the way that he took charge and was able to keep a calm mind. He impacted a lot during the Great Depression, and it was his New Deals and his plans, groups, and organizations that got us out of the Depression. How has the New Deal impacted us today? The New Deal's plans and acts are still with us today, like the Social Security Act, which is why we now have Social Security numbers. Also, we now know what to do if we ever fall into a recession, since we do every so often, or even if we were to have another depression. Thank you for listening.